Have you ever noticed how heavy a dream becomes once it is no longer yours to carry? There is a quiet, unspoken shame that often arrives when your life abruptly changes direction. It is the embarrassment of having to explain to people that things did not work out the way you said they would, the quiet fear that they are judging you, the sinking feeling that because your path did not follow a straight, unbroken line, you have somehow failed. If you have ever felt stuck, anxious, or deeply embarrassed by the sudden detours in your journey, this is for you. Stay until the end, because the final lesson may change the way you see this pain forever. What if the collapse of your careful plan is not a punishment, but a rescue? Most of your suffering right now is not caused by the fact that your life has changed. It is caused by how tightly you are holding on to the way it was supposed to be. We map out our futures. We build our identities around a specific career, a specific relationship, or a certain milestone we expect to hit by a certain age. We tell the world who we are going to be, and when the map burns, we feel it entirely exposed. We feel like we are falling behind in a race we did not even realize we were running. Buddhist wisdom teaches a profound lesson about the nature of impermanence. We suffer deeply, not because the world shifts, but because we fiercely demand that it remains exactly the same. In Buddhist thought, this attachment to a fixed outcome is the root of our greatest sorrow. We do not just attach ourselves to objects or people, we attach ourselves to the ghost of our own future. Imagine a river flowing steadily toward the ocean. If a massive boulder falls into the water, blocking its path, the river does not stop. It does not feel embarrassed. It does not look at the other rivers and feel inadequate. It simply gathers its quiet strength, rises, and carves a completely new path around the obstacle. The water is still water. Its nature has not changed, only its direction has. Yet, when we face a boulder in our modern lives, a lost job, a broken engagement, a failed project, a sudden realization that we are on the wrong path, we freeze. We worry about what our family will think. We scroll through social media, torturing ourselves with the curated successes of others. We feel a deep, burning embarrassment for having to start over. But ask yourself this: are you truly mourning the life you actually wanted? Or are you simply mourning the life you thought you were supposed to have? Are you hurting because of the change itself, or because of the story you are telling yourself about what this change means? Pause, breathe. Let that heavy feeling of embarrassment rise in your chest without fighting it. Observe it without making it your entire identity. It is just a passing cloud. It is just an echo of an old expectation. You do not have to apologize for a path that is still unfolding. You do not have to defend your redirection. There is a strange and beautiful freedom in the shattering of a rigid plan, because when the path you were forcing finally disappears, you make space for the life that is actually meant for you. But releasing the shame of starting over is only the first step. To walk this new road with quiet strength, you must first recognize the trap of comparison, and this is where the next truth begins. 2. The illusion of the straight path. Here is a truth that goes against everything the modern world tries to teach you. There is no such thing as a straight, unbroken path through life. From a very young age, we are handed an invisible script. Society loves a linear timeline. You study, you find a secure path, you climb the ladder, and you accumulate milestones. Every step is supposed to move perfectly forward, always ascending, never retreating. When your life suddenly changes direction, when you step off this imaginary line, whether by choice, burnout, or a sudden collapse of circumstances, it feels like a catastrophic failure. You look around, and everyone else seems to be moving effortlessly forward. You see their achievements, their celebrations, and their seemingly perfect trajectories. In contrast, you feel like you are walking backward. The deep, heavy weight of comparison makes your chest tight. You feel profoundly behind in life. You wonder, why is this so hard for me? Did I ruin my only chance? Buddhism reminds us that much of our anxiety comes from fighting the natural rhythm of existence. One of the deepest lessons of Buddhist thought is that nothing in the universe grows in a permanent, aggressive, straight line. The seasons cycle through birth, decay, rest, and renewal. The tide pulls back deeply before it rushes the shore. The illusion of constant, linear progress is a rigid human invention. It creates endless suffering because it forces us into a desperate, unwinnable race against time itself. Imagine a traveler climbing a vast, ancient mountain. From a distance, the path to the summit looks like a simple line pointing straight upward. But once the traveler is actually walking the trail, the reality is entirely different. The path twists. Sometimes it dips deep down into a dark valley, completely out of sight of the peak. Sometimes it loops back around, forcing the traveler to walk familiar terrain before finding the way upward again. If the traveler believes the journey must always go strictly up, every dip into the valley feels like a total failure. But the valley is not a failure. It is simply part of the mountain. It is the only way across. Think about how this mirrors your own quiet struggles. You may have walked away from a career that looked impressive but drained your soul, and now you are quietly starting over. You may have left a path that was supposed to be forever, and now you are spending your days in quiet uncertainty, while others broadcast their milestones. You feel the crushing pressure to prove to everyone that you have not failed. You feel the exhausting need to quickly catch up to where you used to be. Ask yourself this: whose timeline are you desperately trying to follow? Who told you that a detour means you have lost your way? What if stepping off the expected path was actually the most honest, courageous step you could possibly take? Pause. Breathe. Stop trying to force your complex, beautiful journey to fit into a tiny, straight box. Release the heavy burden of the timeline. Do not judge your current chapter by someone else's entirely different journey. Let the feeling of being behind rise, without making it your identity. Let it pass. Do your part in the present moment, then release the need to be further along than you are right now. You do not need to apologize for finding your own way through the valley. The embarrassment you feel is not the voice of your soul. It is merely the echo of an old expectation. But walking away from the expectations of others requires facing an inner voice that is far more demanding, because the harshest judge you will ever encounter is not the world around you. And this is where we must face the ego's deepest fear. What if the profound embarrassment you feel right now is not actually yours, but belongs to a version of yourself that no longer exists? Here is a difficult truth. We rarely mourn the loss of the path itself. We mourn the loss of the identity we built around it. For years, you carefully constructed a story about who you were. You tied your self-worth to a specific career, a role in a relationship, or a vision of the future. You proudly wore this identity like a badge, so when life forces you to start over, the pain is not just about changing direction. It is the terrifying feeling of losing yourself. The ego screams because it hates to be seen as a beginner. It fears the vulnerability of an empty canvas. It desperately wants to hold on to the old title, the old status, and the old certainty, even if those things were silently breaking you. Buddhist wisdom teaches us that this heavy, demanding sense of self is an illusion. We suffer because we believe our identity is solid and permanent. But in truth, you are not your job title, you are not your past achievements, and you are certainly not your failed plans. One of the deepest lessons of Buddhism is the practice of non-attachment to the ego. When you rigidly define yourself by external things, you become a prisoner to them. Imagine a boat moving through rough, stormy water. The boat is fully loaded with heavy cargo crates filled with old maps, heavy iron, and stones collected from past harbors. As the storm rages, the water begins to pour in. To survive, to keep moving forward, the sailor must throw the heavy cargo overboard. The boat does not survive despite losing its cargo. It survives precisely because it let the weight go. The ego wants to keep the heavy stones, to prove to the world it is still a successful sailor. But the quiet strength of the spirit knows that the only way to float is to release what is no longer needed. Think about how desperately we hold on to our heavy cargo today. You dread running into an old acquaintance because you do not want to explain why your impressive plan ended or why your life looks so different now. You feel a burning shame when someone asks what you are doing these days. You feel the intense pressure to present a successful image, hiding the quiet reality that you are rebuilding from zero. But holding on to the ghost of who you used to be is exhausting you. Ask yourself, are you trying to protect your peace, or are you just trying to protect your pride? What are you afraid will happen if you simply admit that you are starting over? Is holding on to this old identity bringing you peace, or is it feeding your fear? Pause. Breathe. Stop trying to defend a past that is already gone. Let the feeling of inadequacy rise without making it your identity. Do your part, then release the outcome. You are allowed to be a beginner again. You are allowed to not have the answers right now. Because letting go of your old identity does not mean you have lost everything. It means you have finally emptied your hands enough to hold something real. But empty hands can feel terrifying until you learn to trust where the new path is taking you. And this is where the next truth begins. 4. The wisdom of redirection. What if the very thing you view as a painful rejection is actually a profound protection? Here is a truth that few people want to face. Not every closed door is a failure. Sometimes, a sudden ending is the only way to redirect you to where you are truly meant to exist. When life abruptly changes direction, our immediate instinct is to fight it. We feel an overwhelming sense of loss and embarrassment. We replay past conversations in our minds over and over. We analyze every perceived mistake, torturing ourselves by wondering what we could have done differently to keep the relationship alive, to save the career, or to rescue the plan. We stand in front of a sudden, heavy wall, banging our fists against it, completely consumed by the shame of not getting what we demanded. We believe that because our specific desire was denied, our entire journey is ruined. Buddhist wisdom teaches us the profound practice of deep acceptance. Acceptance does not mean giving up, and it does not mean weakness. It means stepping out of the exhausting daily battle against reality. When we cling tightly to a single, specific outcome, we narrow our vision. We become so obsessed with one path that we become blind to everything else around us. Buddhism reminds us that the universe is vast, and attempting to force its immense natural flow into our tiny, rigid plans is the ultimate cause of our suffering. Imagine a tiny seed planted deep in the earth. For a long time, it exists in total, silent darkness. The heavy weight of the soil presses down on it from all sides. If the seed had a human mind, it might feel entirely panicked. It might feel as if it is buried, forgotten, and trapped in an endless struggle. It does not know that the darkness and the crushing pressure are exactly what will cause it to break open. The seed is not being punished, it is being planted. The cracking of its hard shell is not a destruction, but a necessary redirection of its energy upward toward the light. Think about your own life right now. You may be sitting in the heavy darkness of a massive transition. You may have been deeply invested in a project that collapsed. You may have poured your heart into a relationship that faded anyway. Or perhaps you spent years building a life that suddenly feels profoundly empty. The embarrassment and confusion you feel is simply the pressure of the earth around you. You feel like you are failing, but you are actually breaking open. The old shell can no longer contain the person you are becoming. Ask yourself, what closed door are you still desperately trying to force open? What are you afraid will happen if you simply stop fighting? Is your current struggle bringing you peace, or is it feeding your fear of the unknown? Stop trying to force the door open. Pause, breathe. Observe the heavy feeling of rejection without following it. Let the feeling rise without making it your permanent identity. You do not have to fight the current anymore. Do your part, then release the outcome. Allow the redirection to gently move you, because true peace is not found by aggressively forcing life to match your old expectations. It is found by gracefully letting go of the future you imagined. And this is where the next truth begins. 5. Letting go of the ghost of your future. What if the hardest thing to grieve is not a past that is gone, but a future that never arrived? Here is a truth that quietly breaks many hearts. When your life suddenly changes direction, the deepest pain is rarely about what you are losing in the present. The profound, heavy ache comes from losing the future you had already lived inside your mind. You had painted a detailed picture of what next year would look like. You knew exactly where you were going to be, who was going to be beside you, and how it was all going to feel. When that rigid timeline shatters, you are left holding a hollow, empty space. You feel a strange, disorienting grief for a life that only ever existed in your imagination. And because no one else can see this ghost of a future, your mourning feels entirely invisible, making the quiet embarrassment of starting over feel even heavier. Buddhist wisdom teaches that this specific kind of suffering is born from our deep attachment to illusion. We are taught to be mindful, to anchor our spirits in the breathing reality of the present moment. But human nature constantly pulls us away, convincing us to live entirely in tomorrow. In Buddhist thought, the future is an empty concept. It is entirely unwritten, completely formless, yet we treat it as a solid, guaranteed possession. When we demand that the unwritten future obeys our strict, narrow plans, we completely blind ourselves to the profound reality of what is actually happening right now. Imagine standing on a quiet, fog-covered dock, tightly gripping a fragile paper ticket for a magnificent ship. You have waited there for days, then weeks, then months, ignoring the cold and the passing of time. The ship has already sailed, or perhaps it was never meant to arrive at this specific harbor at all. But instead of turning around and walking back into the warm, vibrant world behind you, you stay frozen on the edge of the water. You stare into the heavy fog, completely consumed by the ship that is not there, while your actual, breathing life passes you by. Think about your own journey. How much of your current emotional exhaustion comes from waiting on that empty dock? Perhaps you are secretly mourning the career peak you thought you would have reached by this age. Perhaps you are still holding a heavy space for a relationship that was supposed to be forever, but quietly faded away. You feel a bitter sense of unfairness, as if a thief has stolen something that rightfully belonged to you. But nothing was stolen. The ship simply took a different route. Ask yourself, what ghost of a future are you still fiercely protecting? What imaginary outcome are you holding onto that is keeping you frozen in place? Is this perfect, unwritten tomorrow bringing you peace? Or is it silently stealing the only moment you actually have? Pause, breathe, gently open your clenched hands. Look at the invisible ticket you have been holding and let the wind carry it away. Observe the grief of the lost plan without letting it drag you under. Stop waiting in the fog. Do your part in the present, then release the outcome. Because true freedom arrives the exact moment you stop fighting for a reality that does not exist. You can only build a meaningful life when you finally stop chasing a phantom. But returning to the present moment, after being lost in the future, requires a gentle, profound surrender. And this is where the next truth begins. 6. The quiet power of returning to yourself. What if the sudden collapse of your path was not a failure, but a fierce, undeniable calling to finally come back home? Here is the truth few people want to face. We spend so much of our lives building a version of ourselves designed purely for the approval of others. We wear heavy, exhausting masks to survive in demanding careers. We silence our own needs to keep the peace in fading relationships. We hustle endlessly to hit the milestones society rewards, hoping that one day the applause will finally make us feel secure. But deep down, there is a quiet, undeniable exhaustion. When life abruptly changes direction and the mask is suddenly stripped away, we feel profoundly embarrassed. We feel naked, exposed, and vulnerable in front of a judging world. We look at the broken pieces of our plans and think we have completely lost ourselves. But the deep, beautiful reality is this: you did not lose yourself. You only lost the character you were so exhausted from playing. Buddhist wisdom teaches that underneath all of our titles, achievements, and societal roles, there is a pure, unchanging nature. We suffer because we falsely believe our worth is tied to how well we perform these temporary roles. When we let go of our heavy attachments to who we think we should be, we do not become empty. We become clear. One of the deepest lessons of Buddhism is that peace is not found by constantly adding to your identity. It is found by subtracting the illusions until only the truth remains. Imagine an ancient, solid mountain hidden for years beneath heavy, dark storm clouds. The clouds constantly shift, filled with turbulence, thunder, and rain. If you only look at the storm, you might believe the mountain itself is chaotic, broken, and dangerous. But eventually, the wind changes. The violent storm breaks apart and completely drifts away. The mountain did not have to fight the clouds. It did not have to rebuild itself. It simply remained grounded and still, quietly waiting to be revealed in the soft, morning light. Think about your own life right now. You have spent years wrapped in the heavy, turbulent clouds of performance, people-pleasing, and the desperate need to prove your worth. When your path suddenly shifted, it felt like a violent storm, tearing your entire world apart. You felt the deep shame of being seen without your impressive achievements. But what if that sudden wind was merely clearing away what was never truly yours? The career that drained your soul, the expectations that suffocated your joy, the desperate need for approval that kept you locked in a cage. Ask yourself, who were you before the world told you who you had to be? What parts of your spirit have you been silently ignoring just to keep up this exhausting performance? Is it possible that what you are calling a failure is actually your own soul, finally saying, enough? Pause, breathe, place your hand on your chest, and feel the quiet rhythm beneath. Let the heavy burden of expectation fall away. Observe the fear of being seen as a beginner, but do not follow it. You do not have to perform anymore. Let the storm pass without becoming the storm, because your life-changing direction is not an exile from success. It is a return. It is the quiet, beautiful journey of finally coming back to yourself. But recognizing your true self is only the beginning of the work. You must now learn how to walk this new path without the heavy armor you used to wear. And this is where the next truth begins. What if the most powerful thing you can do right now is absolutely nothing that the world can see? Here is a truth that goes against our loudest instincts. When our lives change direction and we feel the sharp sting of embarrassment, our immediate reaction is to rush. We desperately want to prove to everyone that we are perfectly fine. We want to immediately announce a grand new plan. We feel the burning need to show our peers, our families, and the people watching from a distance that the detour has not broken us. We treat starting over like a frantic performance, rushing to rebuild our lives as quickly as possible, so that we do not look like a failure. But this rushed rebuilding is driven entirely by fear, not by peace. Buddhist wisdom teaches us the profound value of silence and unobserved growth. The human ego constantly demands an audience. It wants to be seen succeeding, and it even wants to be seen healing, just to gather external validation. But one of the deepest lessons of Buddhism is that seeking validation from others is just another heavy form of attachment. True spiritual strength requires pulling your energy completely inward. It requires stepping away from the noise of the crowd and allowing yourself the grace to simply be unfinished. Imagine a great ancient tree entering the deep silence of winter. To the outside observer, the tree looks entirely dead. Its leaves have fallen away. Its branches are bare, stripped of their former glory, and completely exposed to the bitter, freezing wind. It produces no flowers for the world to admire, but beneath the frozen, hardened earth, in absolute silence and absolute darkness, the tree is doing its most vital, life-saving work. It is quietly pushing its roots deeper into the soil. It is gathering strength, conserving its energy, and fiercely grounding itself, so that it can withstand the terrible storms yet to come. The tree does not apologize for its bare branches. It does not try to force a fake leaf to grow just to impress the passing travelers. It simply respects the season it is in. Think about your own quiet winter. You may feel an exhausting, heavy pressure to bloom immediately. You want to show the world that you have already figured out this new, unexpected chapter. You feel a deep shame about your bare branches, about the fact that you currently have nothing impressive to show for your efforts. You want to hurry through this uncomfortable, silent phase of not knowing. But rushing to build a new identity just to escape the embarrassment of losing the old one will only leave you with extremely shallow roots. You will find yourself exhausted all over again, trapped in another life that looks good on the outside, but feels completely empty on the inside. Ask yourself, are you trying to rebuild your path for your own inner peace, or are you just trying to build a new display for the world? What would happen if you simply gave yourself permission to exist in the quiet space between who you were and who you are becoming? Pause. Breathe. Take the heavy pressure off yourself. Stop trying to prove your resilience to an invisible audience. Let the silence hold you without feeling the need to fill it with frantic, rushed decisions. You do not owe the world a polished explanation for your winter, because true strength is never loud. It is the quiet, gentle grace of letting yourself rebuild in the dark without apology. And as you gather this silent strength, you will finally begin to see your entire, unbroken journey in a radically different light. And this is where the final truth begins. 8. The beauty of the unfinished journey. Let us return to the heavy feeling we began with. The quiet, unspoken shame of having to explain that your life did not go as planned. The embarrassment of standing in the middle of an unexpected detour, feeling as though you have somehow failed the timeline. For so long, you carried the crushing weight of a promised future. You believed that because the map burned, you were entirely lost. You felt the burning gaze of comparison, convinced that your empty hands were a sign of complete defeat. But look at how far your spirit has actually traveled to reach this quiet moment. You have walked through the collapse of your rigid expectations. You have faced the ego's deepest fear of starting over. You have learned to sit in the silent winter, allowing the heavy armor of your old, exhausting identity to gently fall away. Buddhist wisdom reminds us that every ending is simply an illusion created by our attachment. When we finally release our desperate grip on the way things were supposed to be, we stop fighting the vast, natural flow of the universe. We realize that the closed doors, the sudden changes in direction, and the silent seasons were not punishments at all. They were profound, fiercely compassionate acts of grace. Think about the journey we have explored. The river finding a new, graceful way around the heavy boulder. The seed breaking open in the dark, heavy earth to finally reach the light. The boat surviving the violent storm only by throwing the heavy, useless cargo overboard. All of these are not stories of failure. They are stories of profound liberation. They are the beautiful, necessary steps of returning to your true, unburdened self. You do not need to feel embarrassed that your path looks entirely different than you imagined. Think about that. The life you thought you wanted, the one that looked so perfect on the outside, was only a small, rigid fraction of what you are actually capable of experiencing. The quiet strength you are building right now in the silence, this profound ability to start over without apology, to trust the unknown without aggressively forcing an outcome, is worth infinitely more than a fragile, stressful success built on a borrowed plan. Ask yourself, right now, in this very moment, can you look at your beautiful, unfinished, unpredictable journey and finally see the profound grace in it? Can you forgive yourself for not knowing the entire map? You are not behind in life. You are not a failure. You are simply a brave human being, learning to navigate the beautiful, impermanent flow of existence. Pause, breathe. Let the final remnants of that old, heavy embarrassment slip through your fingers like dry sand. Observe the quiet space that opens up in your chest when you finally stop demanding that the world follow your old rules. You do not have to carry the ghost of your past plans anymore. Step fully into the beautiful, open space of your unwritten future. Walk this new direction with a quiet, unshakable strength, knowing that returning to yourself is the greatest destination you could ever reach. If these lessons touched your heart, share this video with someone who may need a little more peace today. The storm has passed. You can finally drop the weight.